Hello, and welcome to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. Today we're going to check out a Colorado based progressive death metal band called An Age Lost. The song is going to be Temple of Solitude, and it was requested by Linux Geek 3124. So we got an 8-minute song here with a band I've never heard. This comes off of an EP from 2016. And their YouTube channel has a whole 22 subscribers. So I'm guessing that they're more of a smaller band. Let's get into it. Let's see what they're gonna bring to the table. This part's gorgeous. Yeah, just real beautiful stuff going on right here. I love the chord progression for this part. It's very thoughtful, but with an edge of regret, maybe? Sorrow? I really hate to say this because I think the composition is very well done, but the mixing needs a lot of work, I think. There's a lot of this that is just kind of getting muddied together, and I'm not really able to pick out individual parts of it. It's really interesting that they found a way to kind of drive the song forward using the chord progression and the way that it resolves itself while having sort of this sludgy feel that really pulls the momentum back. And it's like the chord progression and the chord progression and the tempo are at odds about whether the song needs to slow down or speed up. And that is by no means a negative thing. They got a keyboard in there too. I really like how the sound opened up a lot right there. They're using palm muting a lot to kind of give this section a lot of different textures to it on the guitar. I find it very interesting that they can create such beautiful, clean sections, as well as just tear it up with some real dirty wall of sound stuff. I mean, they're really two exact opposites, two opposite extremes, and they seem to have a mastery over both of them. A little bit of a disjointed rhythm there. Very clean syncopation between the whole band too. And it leads into a very melodic section. I wasn't too hot on that transition though. The guitarist has a really good sense of melodic storytelling with his solo. All right, yeah, that's real gorgeous outro there. Um, yeah, I if that is an up and coming band, and this EP is their first EP, came out a few years ago. They are definitely a band to keep an eye out for. They have a lot of really good ideas going for them, and they have, like I said, a very strong mastery between the two extremes of, gorgeous melodic clean sections and then just your metal wall of sounds, just dirty grittiness. They can do both of them, and it's very interesting to see how they can wrap their minds around both of these ideas and how they influence each other. We see a lot of layering going on in both of them. It's just that they choose to do the layering in different ways, whereas in the more melodic section, they layer the instruments as different voices that each represent their own ideas and contribute to the song in their own ways. Whereas in the metal parts, the layers are all done simultaneously to create a very large, loud soundscape. Um, so yeah, their layering skills are just, I mean, they're really good. I mentioned that the guitar solo had a very strong melodic structure to it. He didn't just go in and start shredding. He didn't randomly start shredding in the middle of any musical phrasing. He let the solo breathe and naturally go to each area. Um, he held out notes when he needed to hold out notes. He kind of sped up, played some faster eighth notes. He did a little bit of shredding, but it was all done very naturally. The music had a great sense of flow to it. Um, so he has, I mean, he just has a very good sense of melodic structure. And I mean, it's not like I didn't know that was coming. I'm sure he also wrote the clean melodic section at the beginning of the song. Melodic structure is just it's ingrained in the DNA of this band. I would be very surprised to find out that this was kind of a one-off and that they don't really do anything else like this. It seems to me that melodic structure and just really storytelling through the guitars, it just seems so integral to the band itself and what they're trying to do with their music. It would actually make me a little sad to find out that this kind of storytelling through the music doesn't happen again in their other works, because it's done so masterfully here. It's also interesting to point out, I didn't really notice this until the end of the song, but there really weren't that many vocals in here. The beginning was all instruments, the end was all instruments, the middle was all instruments. It was really only like one verse and one chorus, um, give or take. I mean, I was honed in so much on the instruments because they were given center stage. Even in the mix, the vocalist wasn't very prominent. It reminded me a lot of um, some of the other death metal that we've listened to. Um, Opeth, I think, did it. I know I don't think Meshuggah's death metal, but they also did it, where the vocalist isn't tuned as highly in the mix because it's not supposed to be seen as prominent as the main focal point of the song. It's within the band, and it's more of seen as another instrument rather than something to kind of give the spotlight. And I see a lot of that here, but I don't know if that's intentional because I have to call the entire mix into question. It is um, a bad mix. And I don't want to say that and just be completely condescending about it. For all I know, they recorded this in, a basement or a garage or an attic or a bedroom or, something. And maybe they didn't have an engineer to work on it. Maybe they didn't have the right tools, the right recording equipment, something. It could be something that was completely outside of their control. But the mix needs a lot of work. The drums are very muddy and muted. When the wall of sound stuff kicks in, every instrument kind of lacks a crispness that differentiates itself from the rest. Everything just kind of blends together. There's just this muddiness to everything, and I kind of want to say that that comes from the recording. Um, and I think that they might have done the best that they could with the recording equipment they had. Like I said, the compositionally, the music is solid, the song is solid, and I think at the end of the day, that's what really matters. You're making music, and music to me is more about what's created instead of how it's presented. Presentation is interesting though, especially when you get into arrangements, because you can take for release, and instead of playing it on a piano, you can play it in a big band, and it has a completely different sound to it, a completely different style. It's been arranged for different instruments, and different instruments bring different timbres and personalities with them and all that stuff. um, so there's definitely an argument to be made that music is more than what is written. But I think a lot of the compositional techniques that I'm interested in and seeing the composition of a song is about the music that is created, not how it's performed or how it's presented. And so when I talk about this, I do need to bring up the mix because I think the mix could be improved a lot and it would improve the presentation of the song and I think it would get a lot more it would be noticed by more people, I think. Um, but at the same time, looking at it from purely a musical stance, I mean, the song is beautiful. It is fantastic. Even though I couldn't exactly hear all of the small nuances because of the mix, I still understood what they were going for and what they actually accomplished. So I mean, it's just a real good song. I'm gonna be checking into them, seeing what else they've done, and keeping an eye on them. If they are a new band, this is definitely something, like I said, you're gonna want to keep an eye out for. I would be very surprised if in 5 years' time they weren't a bigger name because I think they have a bright future ahead of them. There's a lot of stuff in here that reminds me of Nea Obliviscaris and the way that they approach music writing. I think they have a lot of that same sort of unique presence and approach to the music that's really going to elevate them in the metal scene. So let me know what you guys thought. Have you ever heard of An Age Lost before? Um, were you impressed by this? Are you going to keep an ear out for them? Have they piqued your interest? And let me know down in the comments. While you're down there, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. as usual. Until then, you all have a fantastic day.